Well, it's another week. It's Saturday night. Trying to pick a celebration night for not hitting deer like last week, but now we're working all weekend, which is good in the long term, because if I'm jobless in a couple months for whatever reason, it'll be nice to have the extra cash on hand and not have to dip into like an e-fund or something like that. So yeah, we're gonna call today we haven't hit deer in a weekday, have our cigar, do a little bit of garage work, not too much. It finally cooled off. I need to get something done, right? And the main thing, suspension still hasn't shipped. It was supposed to ship yesterday, but I didn't get a notification. And it's basically found a vendor that charges their price but gives you free shipping. So you save a couple $100 as to buying direct from KW, but they are a drop shipper, right? So all they're doing is ordering it from KW as well and kind of passing on a little bit of savings to earn your loyalty or trust or whatever. So I wonder if KW is even open in shipping, since I think they're somewhere in Europe, right? German, they're the German company. So if we don't hear anything by Wednesday, then I think, yeah, that'd be 5 days late. More to the date it was supposed to arrive instead of the date it was supposed to ship. So we'll find out. Maybe they have a U.S. warehouse and it'll ship from there on Monday or something. But, really, the only thing I want in place for sure when the car goes back on the ground is obviously the rear suspension and the fuel tank. So I messed with that a little bit this week. I basically set it out in the sun, so it didn't have much left in it, and let it evaporate out the rest of the nasty fuel that was in there. And you can look inside, and I can use the light on my phone, see how it looks. And then I just flushed it with the hose as much as I could, right? Because watch the little chunks of rust and stuff, and they just kept floating out and kept floating out. So I think we're going to have to chemically attack this stuff, because you can see it. There's still water down in there now, but it's just like there's this gross crap at the bottom. And it's stuck on the same way it is on the plastic bucket until a little bit of something touches it, right? And there's something floating around in there. I know, like with motorcycle tanks, guys will just put a bunch of nuts and bolts in there along with whatever fluid they're going to use, and they'll shake a snot out of it. Well, I'm not too excited about putting a couple gallons of anything in this and shaking it in the yard when it's full of rocks. I'd also have a lot harder time, like I can't get that liquid out, because even if I poke a screwdriver in there to keep it open, turn it upside down, it doesn't do it. So part of me wonders if there's another check valve somewhere built into the tank that I don't know about. Maybe further down the neck a little ways, there might actually be two. So we're probably going to have to like tip it up and get everything into this corner and pull the shop vac down in there and suck out any remaining liquid, because that's just too much water for me to leave it in the sun and have it evaporate from the heat. But if I get most of it out, it will. So my first thought is muriatic acid, essentially hydrochloric acid. It will dissolve the rust. I don't know how quickly it'll do it, and I don't really know how much I'll need, but it's the same stuff people use to balance pools, so you can buy it at any store. Just go get muriatic acid. So maybe I'll pick up a gallon of that and do a little test splash, because all I have to do, if I tripping on stuff, if I splash some in there and just letting it sit for a day and swirling it around peels all that rust off of the plastic, it's going to do the same thing in the tank. So yeah, I think that'll be our little test. It'll be interesting, because this is a phosphoric rust neutralizer, removes surface rust, reusable. So because I'm going to use some of this tonight anyway, so I'm going to paint these pieces up. They got a little bit of surface rust on them, but that's what normally happens anyway when you use that and just let it air dry. So I'm not worried about re-sandblasting them, and I got to get at least some kind of progress, or else I'm going to feel really crappy. Let's put a splash of this in there and just see what happens. Now, I wouldn't want to use this stuff for the full tank because it's not cheap, right? But muriatic acid's cheap and should have a kind of similar effect. Well, so we'll let it, let's go a little bit on the extension cord so it kind of collects in this corner. We'll just let it sit for a while and we'll check back on it later tonight. In the meantime, I'm going to put a little bit of that in a bin, brush these down, do the whole process, and get a coat of Pour 15 on them. So, for one, that little Bluetooth adapter I got, that receiver is great because, you know, all I'd do is shut off the fan real quick and hit pause. I don't have to go crawl through everything to stop the music. But yeah, look at, just since the last time we painted, maybe what, a month, because I'm lazy. Look at all the solids, right? So like all that already solved the bottom. So my initial worry that this was a really old can, you know, false. This stuff just drops out quickly. But it's really important, you know, you don't shake the shit out of these cans and get those bubbles in it, like where people have the failures. But you get those solids scraped off the bottom and just kind of stir it until they all mix in, and then get painting. And additionally, I use cling wrap, right, as a plastic layer, because when you let it sit this long, you get a bunch of it sticks in there. And if you use like a Ziploc bag or like a bag from the grocery store or something, it ends up getting too thick, and eventually you can't put the lid on, and then you're looking around for something else to put it in. Things exist, right? You can just keep, like, say, run to the store and eat 10 pounds of cottage cheese and pour it in your cottage cheese containers. But there is something to be said about the, like, you can buy 6 packs of this stuff, so it's in smaller quantities, and then you just treat them like a single use. You mix them up, use most of the can, and then just chuck the things. You don't have to deal with this, but it's not very cost effective. So we'll get this stirred up. We'll get a coat on. We got, where did I put the screw? Oh, screws are right here. So I'll paint the tops of these, because everything underneath this top lip is going to have a bunch of grease in it. We got these all dried off with the MAPP gas too. And same thing from here up is all greased, so we wouldn't want to paint that anyway because it's a bearing surface, but we don't need to worry about the top either, just the bottoms. And then on this guy, there's going to be the spots where the hardware sits, those sliders that snap in. We don't want to paint that either because we don't want too much buildup. Well, no, this goes on thin. We'll paint it. And if it's too much buildup and the pads fit tight, we'll wire wheel it off. And we're all painted up. Somehow I got a little bit in the wrong spot, but that's okay. It's not like one big coating, so it'll scrape off pretty easy, especially since these surfaces are machined / polished, whatever. Same thing with any of the threaded spots. We'll just run a tab through it. No big deal. So now back to this guy, right? So there's our metal prep hanging out in the bucket, and what I think is rust, this brown stuff, seems largely unaffected, right? It doesn't really seem to care. It didn't even turn black, right? So like the metal prep, I guess a couple spots turned black, but other spots didn't. So maybe, I mean, a lot of it's probably varnish too, right? Fuel varnish. And apparently muriatic acid will deal with that. This acid didn't, clearly. This light, I don't remember shutting it off. That's the front ones. I don't know what this switch is. That other one's the garage, so what's your problem? It was on the other day and then it was off again. Whatever. So let's just get some water in here, neutralize that stuff, get it out of the bucket. So yeah, I don't know. I think what we got is the spots that turned a little bit darker and got kind of black are rust particles, and the brown stuff is fuel varnish. It's got to be fuel varnish, unless somebody, maybe this guy that I bought the car off had some enemies, you know. Someone pooped in his gas tank. We'll see. So we'll try the muriatic acid. It's only, I think it's like $10 for a gallon of it. So we'll just buy a gallon and see what happens. If it doesn't work, then we set it on the shelf. We can use it to clean aluminum and all kinds of other stuff anyway. So it won't be bad to have around. But I really need to find something that's going to chemically separate this from the tank, so we can just put something in there and slosh it around and let it sit. And get all that gunk out, because I really if it's like that, if it's brown, the whole inside of the tank's like that, I don't want to put it back in the car because it's just going to slowly separate over time and clog up fuel filters like crazy.